Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, springtime isn't usually known for harvesting, but here we go. Cloud Harvest 07 is a 6.5% Juicy IPA from Rhinegeist Brewery in Cincinnati, Ohio. Rhinegeist is new to Michigan. It just started hitting shelves within the past month or so, and they hit it, I guess I'd say moderately hard. Nothing too flashy or experimental got put out, but it was mostly standbys, flagships, stuff like that. But the one that I thought sounded the most interesting for a first taste was this one, Cloud Harvest 07. Now, after I picked it up, I found out it has another name. It's called Copacabana. Copacabana, yes. And it's part of a rotating series of unfiltered juicy IPAs that Rhinegeist periodically releases. Now, I guess I must have picked pretty good after all. So before we get a taste and see what it's all about, we're going to take a look at the label. But I'd like to thank my executive, but even before that, let's do it one more time. I'm like running on borrowed time here with the whole iPads. Being poo-pooey? Okay. Rhinegeist is new to Michigan. It just started hitting shelves within the past month, and I'd say they hit it, moderately hard. Nothing too flashy, nothing too experimental came out. Mostly standbys, flagships, stuff like that. But the one that I thought sounded the most interesting for a first taste was this one, Cloud Harvest 07. Now, after I picked it up, I found out it has yet another name, not just Cloud Harvest 07, but Copacabana. And it's part of a rotating series of unfiltered juicy IPAs that Rhinegeist periodically releases. So I guess I picked pretty good for a first taste after all. But before we get a taste, we're going to see what it's all about. We're going to look at the label. But even before that, I'd like to thank my executive producers, Brian Kramer, David Jeffries, Vinny Cat, and Cam Freeman for helping to bring this review to you today. If you'd like to become a producer, help out the channel, or maybe just, I don't know, throw me a couple bucks to buy me a beer, take a look at my Patreon at patreon.drafttherapy.com, where you can get early access to these videos and a few other special perks that are available only to patrons. I'd also like to give a big shout out to Leslie Hauser for giving me a heads up that Rhinegeist was hitting the state. So without further ado, let's take a look at this. It's got a really colorful can. I think this was like the most colorful of all the cans that Rhinegeist had released in this first batch. Across the top, it says Rotational IPA. Underneath that, it says Rhinegeist Cincy Made. You see their symbol, which looks kind of like a teardrop with a skull, some other stuff. It could be a nose, I guess. Those could be louvered sunglasses. I'm not really sure. Let me know in the comments what you think it is. Underneath that, it says Cloud Harvest 07 Unfiltered Juicy IPA. It's like I said, it's really colorful. It goes from a nice kind of bright blue to a pink to a yellow to like a sky blue. Does remind you actually of kind of like the sky, some clouds, whatnot, maybe like a sunset. If we turn around to the back, it says Cloud Harvest 07 Juicy India Pale Ale, Copacabana. South of the city, the beach stretches into the sunset and the Sugarloaf cuts a heady profile in the sky. Are those dolphins in the distance? Maybe just merfolk having a friendly evening football match. Hop notes of cannabis, pineapple, and papaya. And then underneath that, it says 6.5% alcohol by volume. This is a 12 fluid ounce can. It lets you know that they are brewed and canned in Cincinnati, Ohio at Rhinegeist Brewery. There's the independent craft beer logo. If we look on the bottom, I can tell you this was canned on February 2nd, 2022. It says C in quadruple. I don't think that I have seen a can of beer yet that says that cannabis is a flavor. Now, I always kind of think that when I say like dank, I generally kind of think that. But I don't think anyone I've seen it like explicitly said on a label. So let's go ahead and crack this. We're going to put a nose on it, like we do. I guess I'm getting a little bit of a papaya, a little bit of a kind of like a little bit of a dankness. Nothing too crazy. It's actually, I was going to say nothing too crazy. And then after that, there was a little bit of a dank, a little bit of a sticky coming through. So let's go ahead and pour it. Coming out pretty clear out of the can, a nice golden yellow hue. We're going to pour it straight down. This is going to produce a lot of head, which is unsurprising because this glass just produces a lot of head. I guess that's what it's supposed to do. So I got about 2 fingers of head here, a solid block of foam on the top there. If we are looking at the overhead, you can see that it's a lot of compact bubbles. It's just a nice foamy head. It's hanging on there. It's not like, sometimes they kind of like start to compressed down quite a bit. Like I said, 2 fingers, nice white head. Holding it up to the light here, that's pretty hazy. It's pretty juicy looking. I can see the shadow of my finger through it. The top here is a little bit more of a golden kind of yellow. On the bottom, it's a little bit clearer, a little bit thinner. That's the way that this glass is set up. Let's put a nose on it. Almost actually the exact same smell. That papaya I was kind of getting on the nose on the can, I'm not really picking up here. And on the second kind of sniff, I wasn't getting it much on the can either. On this though, getting a lot of that dank, getting a lot of that sticky, getting a little bit, I guess there is a sweet, a little bit of a papaya aroma comes through there just a little bit. Let's go ahead and try it out. Cheers. Now we talk about the mouthfeel always first on this channel. It is a little bit lighter than medium. It's not quite as heavy as I would have expected from a Juicy IPA. I know that Juicy IPAs are kind of contentious because, you know, there's Juicy IPA, there's Cloudy IPA, there's New England style IPA. There's lots of different IPA terminology that's used, and it's always very confusing. It almost never like stacks up to Juicy IPAs just never really stack up to that whole like New England thing, and I think they are somewhat different, but there's always debate like on what that is. There's new like guidelines out now, so maybe there is an actual definition. I just don't know what it is. Let's talk about the flavor though. It's a little bit lighter. Long story short, it's a little bit lighter than medium. It's pretty crisp actually, pretty refreshing. The flavor here definitely has that dank note to it. It definitely has that kind of cannabis kind of flavor on the back end on the swallow. It is, there's a little bit of a sweetness. There is a little bit, like I said, papaya came through on the nose. Papaya did come through on the can a little bit. I am getting that. I'm getting like a tropical kind of vibe coming out of this too. But is more heavily, there's a little bit of a fruitiness on the upfront, like on the top of the flavor, so to speak. It's not really even on the upfront. You kind of taste it throughout the entire thing. I think of it as like kind of being the top flavor, kind of being like the lighter kind of flavor that rises to the top. I know that's a really weird description, but that's kind of how I'm picturing this. There is a bit of a fruitiness, a bit of a tropical, a bit of a papaya coming through on that. On the aftertaste, it's a bitterness. It's like, again, it's like that sticky, dank cannabis kind of flavor. I know that I'm wondering if I'm saying cannabis a lot here because that's what it says on the label, but I am picking up on kind of that sticky, dank, kind of earthy bitterness. It is very interesting. It's not really overly bitter. There is a lot of flavor. The bitterness that comes through is earthy. It's not overly bitter. It's not really busting out, but it is very flavorful. Like there's nothing that really jumps out that's like the real like forefront flavor that I can describe. Again, I'm getting that tropical, that fruity, that kind of papaya, that nice kind of overtone to it. Underneath that, it's more of like an earthy bitterness, but it's not overly bitter either. It's kind of like a smooth bitterness. So the bitterness is there, but it's not like a puckering kind of bitterness, like a puckering kind of IPA, or even like West Coast sometimes can be really, with all that citrus, all that kind of resinous bitterness that can come through on a West Coast. It doesn't have that like so much, but it's, like I said, it's got that earthy bitterness to it, and it's just really smooth overall. Super crushable. As it kind of comes through a little bit more, like as I taste it more, it's kind of opening up a little, you know, air is getting into it a little bit more. It's kind of warming a little bit, you know, warming as much as it can warm in like the 2 minutes it took for me to open and pour that. But it's kind of mellowing, like my taste buds. I feel like my palate's kind of becoming acclimated to it. So that bitterness that was coming through so strong before, but not overly strong, is just kind of mellowing out. That's a pretty good beer. I mean, it's like 6.5%. It's not like overly boozy by any means. You don't really even taste that. It tastes like a 6.5%, if that's even like something that most people would be able to tell. But it's just got a nice kind of smooth taste to it. Again, you're getting that fruitiness. You're getting that kind of light note of that kind of tropical papaya kind of flavor up front. Then on the aftertaste, you're getting more of that smooth, earthy bitterness. It's not, again, not overly bitter. It's just a nice rounded IPA. It's not like super in any one direction. Other Juicy IPAs that I've had in the past, I know is like Official from Bell's. That's one I always think of when I think of Juicy IPA. And I would say this one's a lot better than that. It has a lot more of a fuller flavor. It has more flavor just overall, lots more stuff going on. It's just interesting. It kind of makes you think a little bit more than something like Official does or did. But yeah, that's a really strong first showing from Rhinegeist, and I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing some more of the different beers come out here, and I'm sure as things seasonally progress, we'll start to see more, and I'll be on the lookout for it. All right, friends, that has been Cloud Harvest 07, aka Copacabana from Rhinegeist Brewery out of Cincinnati. Have you had this beer before? Do you think there are other Rhinegeist beers that I should be on the lookout for, that I should try? Let me know, all my Ohio viewers. Speak up now. Let me know. Tell me in the comments down below while you're down there. If you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell. I'm here talking about beer twice a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays is all for free for viewers just like you, and you might miss your newest favorite, or you might not know that a beer is a clunker if you're not subscribed and getting those notifications. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries. These guys are in Cincinnati, Ohio. And until next time, don't forget to treat yourself to a little Draft Therapy. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Cheers.